Anyway, today before we start playing Persona, I want to watch a video regarding something that you've been talking to me in chat about a lot lately, and that is Persona 1 and Persona 2. Now, I don't think that I will be playing these games right now, especially not Persona 2, as they did hint or say that there was gonna be a Persona 2 remake coming soon. Are you ready for that? I want to watch this video and attempt to be convinced. Of course, my dog is already excited about it. We're gonna see if playing Persona 1 and 2 is going to be, or if it would be worth it. Now, before we start, I want to hear if there's anyone in the chat who's played Persona 1 or 2. Give me a second to stop my dog from waking up the whole neighborhood. Waking up is I don't know! Okay? I don't know, maybe people are asleep. Anyway, we're gonna watch the video. If you don't want to know anything about Persona 1 and 2, go get yourself a cup of tea for like 15 minutes. But come on, if you find Persona 1 and 2 to be spoilers for you, then I don't really know what to say. Anyway, we're gonna watch this and we're gonna try to get convinced to play Persona 1, 2, maybe. Probably not. Don't get yourself excited. But I will be tempted to learn more about Persona 2 because of the potential remake. Are you ready? Yes.
You know, I've always been a fan of underappreciated games, whether it be the whimsical Final Fantasy V or the wacky and crazy things you can do in the Disgaea franchise, but no game resonates in my mind like Persona 1 and Persona 2. Don't get me wrong, Persona 5 looks to be great, but part of the charm and draw of it is that it's mixing the best elements of Persona 1 and 2 and Persona 3 and 4. But we're not here to talk about that. Today we're going to discuss why you should play Persona 1 and 2.
Should I?
One thing that immediately catches my eye about these games are the stories and the tone. There's something about these games that feels much more mature than Persona 3 and 4. And no, I don't mean mature and adult like games.
Please let me know what you think about this, because I'm trying not to get myself into these games, but I think it inevitably is going to happen. Let's do it.
Game journals like to pontificate like David Cage or about walking simulators. I mean, there's a clear focus on the narrative, themes, and the tone that makes these characters much more believable and grounded. For reasons such as this, I find the cast of Persona 1 and 2 much more relatable than the cast of 3 and 4, aside from a few people.
Why? So why is the cast of 1 and 2 more relatable than 3 and 4? When, I don't know, like I'm playing through Persona 4 right now, and it is said to be the best cast out of all of the Persona games, and I'm very, very curious to know how important the story in Persona 2 is. So if you know anything about it, let me know, because I am trying not to jump into another project, but I'm like on the verge of doing it. I would say they're worth playing because they're set up for a masterpiece of series, even if they're aged. Exceptional storytelling and character development. Is it really? Oh my god, I'm gonna get myself into it.
A clear change in focus when moving on to Persona 3 and 4 from Persona 1 and 2. A notable change is the setting and how that setting interacts with the narrative and the characters. All the games take place in high school and revolve around high school students except Eternal Punishment. In Persona 1 and 2, more emphasis is placed on the characters and their pursuit of solving the mysteries and unexplained events as the world unfolds around them. There are no social links or meters that dictate your charm or intelligence like in Persona 3, 4, and 5.
But are there social links in 1 and 2? Because I don't know how I would play a Persona game without social links.
So, all character development happens organically within your party, and to be honest, I like this design. Seeing all the characters naturally develop within the events of the game, rather than having their deeper meanings tied to a different mechanic, has always been much more enjoyable to me. This isn't to say that social links are terrible, but their design is rather flawed when you consider that in order to complete them, you have to follow a guide of some sort, and they are extremely time restricted.
Oh, this is so true. Did you know that I restarted my Persona 4 Golden playthrough because I was unhappy with my time management when it comes to social links, and now I'm at the beginning of December in Persona 4 and I'm still unhappy because I still feel like I missed out on a social link that was kind of crucial for me to finish the game and get the best ending. So I don't know if I'm happy with this one, but at this point I'm just gonna ride it out. The stories are freaking batshit crazy sometimes, and yes, there are no social links in the old game. But how do you get to know the characters? How does it even work?
And they leave little room for error. Contrast this with Persona 3 and 4, and they focus heavily on the high school setting and the daily lives of high school students. Persona 4 is often joked about as a Japanese fantasy version of Scooby-Doo, and honestly, I can see the similarities. Much of Persona 3 and 4 resembles that of an anime, specifically a slice of life anime with fantasy elements thrown in. The high school setting is very relatable for the Japanese audience, that's why so many games and so many animes have this setting. Persona 3 and 4 do have darker underlying themes, but
does Persona generally have a lot of different endings? Yes, it does. And I've currently done all of the bad endings of Persona 4. And I'm trying to get myself into the good one. Also, Persona 3, to my knowledge, has a bad ending, which we explored from a different save. But yes, in general, they do have good and bad endings. But what I really find satisfying when it comes to Persona and their endings in general is that you don't have to replay the game to get another ending. It's normally like the last 2 weeks of the game or something like that without any spoilers, and I find that very satisfying because it doesn't feel like it wastes your time.
But they also come off as lighthearted and much more approachable. That's one reason why so many people started with these games, even I'm guilty of that. But the most drastic difference between these games, aside from the addition of social links, will be the focus put on the protagonist. In Persona 1 and 2, the protagonist is just as much a part of the story as the other party members. It genuinely feels like an effort everyone is equally putting in.
So the cutscenes that I'm seeing is looking like Persona 1 and 2 are really dark. Are they? Oh.
And instead of you being the special one that outshines everyone, this is also supplemented in the gameplay. In Persona 1 and 2, everyone can change personas, not just the main character. Now, it's true that these games were more in line with the mainline Shin Megami Tensei series, but the removal of this as a mechanic is extremely odd. Being able to customize personas for people other than the main character adds much more stress.
This is like this board setting. It's kind of like it kind of reminds me of like the Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre Reborn or whatever. And I'm a huge sucker for these like board. I don't know how to call them, like the games that look like they're spread on a board. And by the way, like one of my favorite games is Digimon Survive. If you haven't played Digimon Survive, you are missing out. It's a criminally underrated game. Came out like 2 or 3 years ago or something, and I am in love with it. It has this exact same layout. I fucking love it. I think I would actually get really tempted. I love Tactics Ogre as well. I'm actually just about to finish that one as well. Another one of my playthroughs that's out there waiting for me.
Strategies to the game, especially when it comes to preparing for battles and dungeons. Persona 3 and 4 go out of their way to make it out as you're the chosen one, and Persona 3 tried really hard with that Jesus imagery. The power to change personas in Persona 3 and onward is often referred to.
Not me making a face looking at a cutscene that I've already seen. It's like, oh, what is this? Oh, wait, I remember that.
As a wild card, and many of the characters in the games are sure to point out how special you are to possess that power. This isn't to say that Persona 3 and 4 are easy, but there is a fair bit more depth in Persona 1 and 2. Persona 5 borrows elements from these games such as guns as a secondary weapon and negotiation. With negotiation, you must coerce demons to your side based off what you say during the interactions. In Persona 1, experience is based off what members you use, so the game encourages you to experiment and try different team combinations. In Persona 1, you must also account for the positions of your characters. Your characters can only hit enemies within their range. Think of Fire Emblem or Disgaea, where you're given a bit more range based off what type of weapon your character has.
That's cool.
You can change your party formation, but you have to take into account the limitations of your characters, which adds a layer of strategy and a sense of teamwork, because it's not wise for any one character to do everything by themselves. Guns also make it easier to deal some serious damage if your character happens to be out of range. Persona 2 does get rid of guns, but it does introduce fusion spells. I will say the removal of guns as a secondary weapon was disappointing, but with fusion spells, when 2 or more party members use different elements or attributes in a certain...
Are you going to do a second playthrough of Tactics Ogre with a different choice at the first major turning point? I've been through the first major turning point, and I think I'm at chapter 4, so that should be like the last chapter. I think I've only just started it, and I might, depending on how I feel at the ending of the game, I would like to see the other part of the story. I went for chaos, of course, but I'm very curious to see the other one as well.
combination, they can combine for a fusion spell to deal a massive amount of damage. You no longer have to worry about your character's positions as you did in Persona 1, and while that is a shame, negotiation here is much more fleshed out. Negotiation can have various people contributing to influence a demon, and based on a demon you will get different results, and it's actually...
I really like that. Like, I've just played through my first SMT game, and I really like these negotiations. It just feels like Persona 1 and 2 are much more SMT-esque than Persona. And some of these things I really like. I really like the positionals. I think that is awesome.
Actually kind of funny. Then there's the Velvet Room. It's no secret that each of Persona has a different Velvet Room attendant. Persona 3 had Elizabeth, while Persona 4 had Margaret. However, the Velvet Room in Persona 1 and 2 has a certain charm to it. The Velvet Room in Persona 1 houses Igor, Nameless, and Belladonna. They all return in Persona 2, and the Velvet Room also adds a newcomer known as the Demon Painter. Nameless and Belladonna are found playing piano and singing opera.
Oh, I kept wondering where these people are from because I keep seeing them in screenshots and whatnot. And you know what? Today I wanted to watch a video about Igor and his lore, but I noticed that the video has some timestamps and one of them is the answer, and I'm playing through the answer for the first time right now, so I don't think I can watch that video until I finish.
Respectively, and it was such an interesting feeling when I found out it was them playing this theme that would become iconic with the franchise.
Nameless.
Something else.
It just feels like someone made a name placeholder and just left it like that at the game launch.
Eternal Punishment does is that it makes the party interact with the Velvet Room both outside and inside the narrative. For starters, every party member in Persona 1 and 2 is allowed access into the Velvet Room. It isn't a place that only exists for the main character. Aside from Persona summoning and management, the Velvet Room is used for story purposes, like when Ulala was taken there during the events of Eternal Punishment to recover from the infection of the Joker curse. I do hope that Atlus decides to remake these games one day. They are genuine treasures, and it's sad to see them ignored by the fan base and even the company itself for the most part. I mean, sure, we do have those DLC costumes in Persona 5, but that's the most attention these games...
That's sad, because you get a DLC costume in Persona 5, but that only serves to like 1 or 2% of the fan base or whatever who have actually played through these games. It's like you don't even know where it's from. Aww.
Have gotten in years. All I'm saying is that whenever Atlus decides to make Persona 5 Arena, I hardly doubt we're going to see the crew from the first 2 games show up and hang around. If you're looking for a nice RPG to hold you over until the release of Persona 5, then I highly recommend you check out Persona 1 and 2. The best versions of the play of these games would be the PSP remasters on either an emulator or buying them off of Amazon, seeing as how they aren't that expensive. When it comes to Persona 2 Eternal Punishment though, things get a little trickier. The PSP remaster never got localization, so your options are emulation or the PSN store. The word is there is a team translating the PSP version, so fingers crossed. And I can't stress how good these games are. A nice story about a group of friends trying to uncover conspiracies and the world around them. The stories are simple and easy to follow, as well as not going for the typical JRPG tropes with its themes and characters. Thank you for sitting through this long video, and I hope I could perfectly articulate why
it's actually not that long. It's like 7 minutes.
You should play Persona 1 and 2.
No, I really like this. And okay, so a little bit of a question, right? If I was to do ever like an offline playthrough of some sort for either Persona 1 or Persona 2, is this something that you'd like to see on YouTube? Because I don't think that I will be doing this on stream anytime soon because of Metaphor, because of Persona 5, finishing all these Persona 3 and 4s. Right now I'm playing 3, 4, and I'm about to play 5, and I'm about to play Metaphor. I don't know when to fit all this in, but if you want to see any of this as an offline playthrough, as I do exclusive offline playthroughs on my YouTube channel, let me know, as I can maybe work something out if I manage to emulate these games. So I don't know, should we do a poll or something on in the chat to just kind of see, to just gauge your how do I say this? Just gauge what you think about it. Hard to find LPs of P1 and 2 on YouTube, so I'd be down for that. Like, I think it would be fun, and maybe like I could cut out the parts that are, you know, maybe super grindy or something like that. Like I would like to. I'm tempted, and I'm looking for a game to just kind of, you know, play a little bit offline. So I think it would be fun. But let me know what you think. I think it'd be exciting because I can't I can't stress how bad I feel for like I don't know, not knowing all these things that I want to be knowing as a Persona fan. It's just like I don't want to be one of these people who's just ignoring the the whole Persona 1 and 2 and just being like, oh yeah, 3, 4, and 5 are the Persona games. These don't matter anymore. Like I want to know the story. I want to know the lore, and I'm endlessly curious about it. And I hope you are as well. Anyway. Sorry, I'm a bit overstimulated today. But we're gonna play Persona 3 now. Let me switch to the game that you can't see just yet.